Hey, namaste. This is Sacred Owl with another rendition of Real Talk by Sacred Owl. Today I want to talk about empaths or being empathic. The reason why I'm talking about this today is because I was asked several times, what does it mean to be an empath? And what are the traits of an empath? And I figured that I would talk to you about that because in many videos, like the depression video, one part of people being depressed is that they're empathic and they're picking up other people's emotions and expressing that through their own life's experience. So as an empath, there are many traits of an empath that are out there. And one thing about it is that to be an empath, you have to really understand that you as an empath are a highly sensitive person. You are a person who is spiritually open, emotionally open, and you're sensitive to other people's emotions. I'm not talking about sensitive, oh, my feelings get hurt sensitive. It might be that too, but no. An empath is a highly sensitive person who has the ability to feel the room as they walk in and pick up other people's emotions. One thing you may want to do to check that is when you walk into a room, before you walk in, see how you're feeling. And when you walk into your room and your mood changes extremely or to an extreme, then you know you're picking up somebody else's feeling. Check the room out and then disconnect from that person. Number two, empaths absorb, which I just talked about, other people's emotions. So, be clear about that when you're experiencing emotion and you may seem moody and you're not because you're picking up other people's emotions and you're expressing it. Number three, empaths can be and tend to be introverted. That means that they're to themselves and they can be isolated, which is another sign of depression. So be mindful as an empath. It might go along with being introverted, but you may think you're depressed and you're not. You're actually just experiencing somebody else's emotions. So be very mindful of that. Number four, empaths are highly intuitive. They have a great ability to pick up other people's energies. Can they decipher what they're picking up? Not necessarily, but they know they do pick it up and they do have an understanding of it. After a while, as you keep practicing it, you'll learn to know what's your feelings and what is somebody else's feeling. Some things to offset as an empath, a trait of an empath, is that empaths need time alone. They need to disconnect from people and just be isolated sometimes. It's not all the time, but it's just that you have to reset yourself and be mindful of that as an empath, so that way when you're picking up all these emotions, you can cut the world off and say, hey, I'm here for a moment, and do that. And when that means being alone, don't watch TV because that's adding emotions. You're picking up the emotions from the TV. Listen to some music, calming music, or whatever, binaural beats, whatever works for you. Empaths can be overwhelmed in a very intimate relationship. That's one thing about an empath. So when you're in a relationship with somebody, before you argue with that person, make sure you're not overwhelmed by the emotions that are involved and not picking it up, because when you're arguing, you're angry, so you're picking up your anger, their anger, your anger, their anger, and you got an explosion. So be mindful of that as an empath. Empaths also are natural targets for energy vampires. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a future date. Energy vampires, serious stuff. Energy vampires are people who are trying to come and just absorb your energy, consciously or unconsciously. So be mindful of being a target of that. Empaths, though, one thing you can do as an empath is you can replenish yourself in nature. And if you don't have a place to get to in nature, let's say you're in the city, you can't get to the park or something, put your hands in water, put the tub on, put your feet in water, eat some ground food like carrots, things that come out the root, potatoes, carrots, kale, all those things, beets that will come out of the ground, because that will replenish you. Also, empaths have highly tuned senses, and the other thing is that empaths, which is the biggest thing, is they have the biggest hearts in the world, and they give away way too much. So you as an empath, you have to practice a little bit of what they call self-preservation or selfishness. So be mindful of that as you're out there every day dealing with situations, and if you feel yourself going from mood to mood, it's because maybe you might just be an empath like this guy right here. Hey, Sacred Owl, love you. Peace. Have a great day.